National Ag Statistics crop report out yesterday afternoon, and we crunched all of the numbers late last night and into this morning, and so did the trade. And we thought maybe we would have a little bit of a turnaround here on Tuesday from yesterday's activity, but we've turned around again. So let's look at those numbers here as we are moving up here on the middle part of the trading session today. Corn still lagging by about 1 1/4 cents on that nearby contract, 3.50 1/4. Talked to one analyst earlier that said, watch that 3.50 level. That's the level that we have to hold. And we are just 1/4 cent above that right now. We've got a low of 3.49 1/4. So we did dip down, did a little bit of testing, probed below that resistance, but came back and held right at that 3.50. And that's where we're at right now. July corn down 1 1/2, 3.79 1/4. Let's move on to the soybean market here, where we're just slightly higher. November soybeans up 3/4 at 9.58. May soybeans up 2 cents at 9.87 3/4. The wheat market has been about 3 to 4 cents higher all morning. December Chicago wheat up 3 at 4.47 3/4. July new crop wheat up 3 at 4.92. July Kansas City wheat right now is higher by 2.5 cents at 4.90 1/4. July Minneapolis wheat also a little bit higher by 2 3/4, 6.37 3/4, but that September starting to slip down a half, 6.34. And the December cotton market right now is up 59 points at 68.16. Joining us for analysis is Brian Hoops. He is with Midwest Market Solutions. Brian, there really wasn't much in this crop progress report to give us much direction one way or the other, but it was interesting to see just how late mature some of these crops are.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing you can take away from this report, Tim, is that the maturity is very much behind, and we are certainly looking at, probably some harvest delays coming forward here with the wet forecast that we are seeing. It's going to take a lot of heat to get the crop back to maturity. It's going to take some heat and warmer temperatures to dry fields out. There's a lot of areas reporting 2 to 4 inches of rain, and that's going to be at least to the end of the week before their fields are able to support the heavy combines and heavy equipment that they want to use. So we're really not getting much of a way of any type of a bounce here off of this news. It's more of a technical bounce. Beans fell down to an uptrend line support. If you look at a chart from August and September, you could draw an uptrend line, and we came right down to that around 9.53 1/2 before we saw just a very small bounce this morning. And same thing with Kansas City wheat. We're an uptrending channel, and we bounced off of that supportive feature. Otherwise, it's been a very slow market.
Brian, I think you hit the nail on the head there, saying it's a very slow, very quiet market. I want to visit with you just a little bit about this this traffic along the main rivers to get this grain to the coast. Obviously, we know that that's going to really shake up things when it comes to basis, particularly along that route. But do you think eventually that could back up all the way to the futures?
Well, eventually it will, and it's creating a real problem for a producer as the basis backs off quite a ways. If you're hedged and the market rallies, you want the cash to follow that futures market. And if we are not able to ship things and the basis levels widen out, it really defeats the purpose of that hedge. So it hurts things from a hedging standpoint for a producer. It hurts things as basis widens out. And if we're not able to ship, foreign buyers are probably going to turn to another country to step in and fill some of that demand. So it also limits our opportunities on the world export market.
All right. Brian Hoops here with us with Midwest Market Solutions. When we come back, we'll check the numbers of the livestock trade. That's straight ahead here on the Market Day Report. Brian Hoops is here with us, and it's time to look at this livestock market. The live cattle and the feeder cattle, both, we've been on both sides of unchanged so far today. And Brian, I want to get your thoughts on this. I've tried to bounce deflated tires out of the back of a pickup before. It just doesn't work real well, and it's almost seeming that same way with this cattle trade today.
Yeah, there's just not much reason to push this thing sharply lower. I thought we really fell much lower yesterday than what the news should have pushed us, and we finally started to see some sort of a bounce. I expected we'd see a little technical recovery today. If we look at the show list numbers, they are larger than a week ago. Sale barn activity is pretty much steady with last week, so it looks like a steady to lower cash trade, and that's going to limit what type of a rally we can have. But I am hopeful we get a small bounce here, starting to see it in the feeder cattle, where we can get a small technical recovery after the big push lower yesterday. And I think producers will be pretty willing sellers on that rally, as it does look like cash trade is going to be softer this week.
October feeders right now up 90 at 151.25. November feeder cattle up 98 at 152.58. Over at the live cattle market, like Brian was talking about here, back to the higher side. October live cattle up 10, 107.92. December up 31 at 113.73. Brian, does it concern you at all that these slaughter weights are slowly starting to, or continuing, I guess I should say, continuing to slightly increase each month?
It's a big concern because you've got a fourth quarter here where normally supplies decrease during the next 3 to 4 months, but this year we're going to see an increase in supplies. You go back to the cattle and feed reports that suggest that the slaughter numbers are going to increase, and that's going to keep a pressure against the cutouts, and that's going to negatively affect our cash trade. So with weights increasing, it only adds to the already burdensome supply and the issues that we're going to have. And so we've been very concerned about this for our producers, that we're going to see a lot of weakness in the next 3 months or so.
Well, we've seen the slaughter weights of these hogs also come up also. And right now we've got lean hogs that started out the day higher. We've got that nearby October up 23, 59.48. The December not quite so robust, up 40 at 62.38. But this market all of a sudden just woke up when we rolled the calendar.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that right after that hog and pig report came out on Thursday, Friday morning, we saw a pretty good move. We saw the extension of that here in the last couple of days. A huge amount of shorts been placed into this market since topping in mid-August, and a lot of those shorts are being bought back. And we're also seeing a little spread activity against the cattle market over the last several days, as with the hogs moving lower. During the August-September timeframes, cattle found some support because of spread interest against two commodities.
Sure. Brian Hoops here with us with Midwest Market Solutions. Brian, always good to talk to you. Thanks for your time today. Have a good rest of the day.
Great talking with you. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you very much. And still keeping a sharp eye out for any signs of cash cattle trade. We do have askings at, some of that show list bid at 110 for asking prices and 174 for some of the dressed cattle. So
all right.
That's kind of where things stand at this point in time throughout the day.
All right. Thanks for the rundown, John.